I didn't want to prepare a bunch of questions to ask you because I wanted
like that better.
Yeah, I wanted it to feel like we were having a conversation, which we've been having for like 14 years now.
Yeah, if people could sit and watch us and listen to our conversations, it's like a fly on the wall because we've grown a lot.
We have.
We've learned a lot from each other, and I think it's kind of neat to see how far we've come.
I think so too.
Hi, this is Kelly Lang, and this is Famous with my friend Jacy Dawn Valeras.
I want to start at the beginning of your career because this whole show is about being famous, being around fame, the effects that it has on people, both negative and positive.
Okay.
You have been around fame your entire life because of your father, because of you, because of your husband. First and foremost, you were raised by a guy who was Conway Twitty's road manager.
Yeah.
Did you know from an early age that your dad was, quote unquote, famous for what he did?
Dad was really charismatic. He always had this ability when he would walk in the room, everybody would turn and, oh, he's here. You know, they would clamor to him. And I always really loved his charisma. I would like to hope that I have a little bit of his personality. And I learned a lot about people skills from him because he was the kind of guy that made everybody feel that they were the only one in the room when he was there talking to them. Now, he also, on the flip side of that, was so gregarious and so outgoing that my mom, being very shy and quiet, she felt like she was kind of in his shadow and was left behind because he was out talking to everybody around him. So to find a happy balance was interesting. But yeah, I would call him, of his era and of his genre of work, he was a star in his own right. And people still call me today and they say, oh my gosh, your dad taught me this, or I called your dad for advice on that. So he was one of a kind. He really was. And to answer your question about being around famous people, that the fact that he was Conway Twitty's road manager for 25 years allotted me the ability to see these artists behind the scenes. And so I got to see them personally, what I liked or didn't like, what I admired or what I didn't admire, you know, to be able to hone in on what a true star and the essence of a true star I would love to learn from and grow from. And it was a great education for somebody that's trying to break into the business. And I got to see all of the sides of them, and what a great seat it was.
And your seat was often on the side of the stage watching Conway perform among many of the other people, which we'll get into. But did you learn anything from those early days that you think has directly impacted the way that you get on stage and the way that you perform?
That is a great question, Jacy, because yes, I used to remember I would sit on the edge of the stage. Dad would have the concessions and stuff with Conway to the side of the stage. And I was privileged to be able to have this side of the stage. Like I would see out when Conway would start to sing, the crowd, I mean, he didn't have to say a word. I mean, they just went wild. I thought, what is that? Can you bottle that? You know, and then on the flip side of that, after his show, he was so generous with his fans. He would never leave a concert with anybody wanting an autograph. He would sit on that stage until the last person left the building, which is really rare these days. Maybe Garth took after that a little, but let's think about it. Not very many people do that anymore.
Right.
So I learned that. I learned how valuable fans were. I learned how valuable being kind to someone is, because you have one opportunity to make an impression. You better make it good, because those people, especially with social media now, those people that might not have a good impression of you on your first conversation can run with it, and it could end up being very bad. Luckily, I learned from the best to be kind in the beginning.
Do you think that it factor that we're talking about, like the thing that makes somebody have that charisma, is all of those things combined into one? It's being the kind of person that feels relatable to your fans, also talent, also an entertainer? Or do you think there's one thing about an entertainer that is the magic piece?
Man, you know what? If you could bottle it, you could be a billionaire. I think you're born with it. I think you can hone it, but I think the essence of a person, you have to be born with it.
Yeah.
I know people that they can be 15. Well, let's take Celine Dion for an instance. She's one of 13 children. Why her?
Yeah.
I'm sure her other siblings sing great, you know, but there's an it factor about her that stands out, and it's probably a work ethic that she has, or an ability to communicate with people differently or something. Who knows what it is? But it's a magical thing.
How much of that do you think is drive and ambition versus the it factor and the talent?
If we're talking about my own personal experience, I can tell you that I had the drive more than I had the talent in the beginning. I really did. I look back on videos like on Star Search. No, really. I look back on videos like on Star Search and I think, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But I was like a filly, like going out there just unbridled. And, I was so enthusiastic to be there.
Yeah.
But that's infectious too. Sometimes you don't have to have a perfect performance or perfect voice or anything to have energy and excitement to make people look your way. Just to be different and to not be so different that you're not authentic. I think the key to that magic thing is authenticity. And I think if you are not authentic, people can pick up on it.
Yeah.
And they can sniff it out, and it's very easy to figure out. But if you are open and you admit to mistakes or you try to be kind to people, people can sense that.
Yeah.
And I think it's endearing when people are more authentic with themselves.
Continuing to talk about the people that you were lucky enough to be around when you were a kid, people like Loretta Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had the chance to meet Tammy Wynette. Were any of these people especially encouraging to you when you were just starting out?
There's so many. They didn't know it.
Yeah.
Perhaps I wouldn't have said it because I was a kid, but I was an observer. I would sit and watch, and I would think, how did they do that? Or I would watch conversations between Loretta and her fans, and
Right.
the rawness of her. It was so pure, and so what you saw is what you got with her. Dolly, for
Yeah.
instance, same. I mean, you get to pick up on. Nobody's that authentic, No, she says things that you wouldn't dare say,
Right.
But she got by with it because she was so cute, innocent,
Yeah.
So I learned things like that. One of my favorite memories of Conway. He was a very shy man. You wouldn't think that because he was just like bigger than life. But I remember he would call his organization over. Let's say my parents and the manager of the office or whatever. He would have a group of us come to his house before he would record one of his songs, something that he'd just written. One of the songs was You've Never Been This Far Before. Mm-hmm. And there was like a boom, boom, boom in the song. And it was a very racy song at the time. It got banned from radio.
Which is so wild.
So me, at 6 years old, gets to sit at his feet in his music room. I remember it had black leather couches. He had a stage in his house, which I thought was bigger than life.
That's super cool.
He had his own makeup beauty room, like a hair shampoo bowl. It was cool. So to sit there and a little tiny, I didn't know I was a songwriter at the time, but I do now, and how big of a thing that was for me to witness that. So to see somebody create something, be insecure about should I record this or not, sing it for everybody to see what that was about, that's hard to do. Mm-hmm. As a songwriter, I'm always scared to share my songs. I share them with you more than anybody, but that's such a cool memory that I had. And to be privileged to be able to do that, I mean, I'm off track with your question, but...
No, I think it's important because all of these people that we're talking about, I mean, your relationships have continued with them. I remember when you did a show at Loretta Lynn's ranch, and this is a memory that I have that I will remember for the rest of my life because it was so special, but we were in the green room before the show, and Loretta came in and sat down.
Yeah.
Now, oh my gosh, if you can be in the same room as Loretta Lynn for a moment, that's life-changing on its own.
But that was norm for me, though.
It was normal. And the thing that I observed, just talk about being a fly on the wall, sitting there in my chair in the corner, how did I even end up in this room? Loretta was telling stories about her life. And I remember her telling a story about how Patsy Cline was the first person to teach her how to shave her legs. Do you remember her telling us the story? Yes. I'm sitting there going, how am I even witness to this moment? But
she was just authentically herself.
Exactly.
Right.
She was telling stories that you kind of grasp onto as somebody in entertainment, and you realize that these are just normal people who have experienced such a high level of success.
Do you remember when she was telling Patsy, don't drop that baby on her head? You're going to drop her. You're going to kill that baby.
So funny.
Yeah.
And Loretta wrote about your dad in her book.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. Going back to my dad, he was a star in his own right. George Jones wrote about him. There's other couple of people I can't think off the top of my head, but it was really funny because he tended to watch over Conway. He was like a protector of them, and in that role, other people saw that and they would ask his advice and help too. So
Yeah.
I think the part that she wrote about him was how he saved her on the road from spending too much money on something. And George was trying to sell a boat for drugs, and Dad wouldn't buy the boat from him. He says, "No, George, you're not getting money out of me. You need to straighten up."
Yeah.
So it was out of appreciation for him helping them out of things. So
As you're growing up and as you're doing these things, of course, you were on Star Search. You had all these opportunities to perform and open shows for people. At what point do you remember making a conscious decision, or maybe you didn't even, that this was what you wanted to do?
I've never thought about that. It just was never an option. Like I never thought of anything else. However, life happens. I got married really early, and I knew right away that it was a really big mistake for me because the booking agency that I was with, that I was working so much with, halted my contract. They said, "If you're getting married, we want nothing to do with you," because it changed everything, and it made me go within, and I was very depressed and very anxious and very unhappy. And so it took me a while to get my confidence back up, to know that was maybe God puts bumpers in our lives sometimes, and that was a clear indication that, whoops, I was on a path and it completely changed. But I'm back on my original path now, and I know that it's the correct path for me because I'm elated and I'm happy and it feels organically right to me. Whereas I tried other things. I tried real estate. I tried to be in sales.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at math. I don't know what made me think
me
of all
too.
these things, Anything creative for me. I got into painting, which was a good alternative for being an artist or creative type person. But music, writing, that is more down my alley. And although I enjoy performing, that's still not my forte. I really would prefer writing. People don't know this, but I'm actually rather shy.
Yeah,
So
you are. I would say so.
Most people think I'm just stuck up. So
No, everyone thinks I'm stuck up too. This is a huge problem for people who are a little more introverted. And you don't, because you're the person, I always say this, if I'm going to a party where I don't know anyone, you're the person I want to bring with me, because I know for sure you will start a conversation with someone in the room and I will be safe.
I don't mean to. Sometimes they just come talk to me, but I can, but it is an effort for me. It's a skill that I've had to really overcome. And I am able to carry on a conversation with a fly on a wall too, but when I go into a party, people wouldn't know that I get really shy and have to excuse myself to go to the bathroom to talk myself off the ledge, know, but it's I don't know. I just feel like it's something that I've had to learn to grow from.
One of the things that I think is really cool is that you're really good in a one-on-one conversation. Like, you would probably rather sit and have a intimate, deep conversation than be in a crowd of people and have a conversation with a lot of people. But I actually think that's something that has been a key to your success, because something that I've observed from watching you for so many years is how you have this ability to make the person that you are talking to feel really special, whether it's a fan or someone in the industry or a musician or whatever. When you're in a conversation, even if it's just a minute conversation with a fan who wants a photo with you, their takeaway is something important. It's a special moment that they shared with you. And I think that's part of going back to like the it factor. That's part of it. Making a fan feel like they're the only person in the room when they only have a minute maybe with you.
Well, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of people, and I would like to treat people how I would like a artist or celebrity to treat me. So I come from it out of the expectation of, would I like me if I left my presence, So I like to flip it around, and that might be the only person that they will get to meet that would be in the music industry, you know. And I look at myself as way down here compared to so many more people, but it's just a human experience, and it's exciting to meet somebody that, like when you and I first met.
I was just going to bring this up.
Yeah, when you and I first met, you had written to me on social media, and I'm not a very observant person. You know that I am not. Like, I'm just very shy, and I don't really pay attention to my surroundings much. But there's something about you that I'm so grateful that you walked up to me and said something. Mm-hmm. It created this long friendship that we've had.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't watched my socials, mm-hmm. if I hadn't been active on my socials, which I encourage new artists to really hone in on.
For sure.
And really try to be engaging with my fans, I might not have had the blessing of our friendship. So that was a big deal for me.
Well, what was a big deal for me was the first night I ever met you. You were performing at the Listening Room.
Yeah.
And my memory from that night was there was a whole section at the old Listening Room that was kind of blocked off for the reserved people, the special people. And I was seated.
It was special.
I was seated just right behind that. And I remember getting to my seat with Mike, and I was like, well, who gets to sit here? Like, how come these people are so important? And I'm sitting there and I'm watching all of these very important people walk in. Like, it's, like Kimberly Williams Paisley comes in.
Was she there that
Yes,
night?
and Lori Morgan and Sheryl Crow and all these people. And I'm like, right, yes, these people are far more important than me. However, that night I mustered up the courage somehow to walk up to you at the end of the night. We had never met in person.
Right.
And I was like, hi, I'm Jacy. Do you remember?
I hugged you.
I
was
cried.
Yeah, you did.
I cried.
But here's the thing. I know them.
Yeah.
I respect them. Mm-hmm. But I consider them acquaintances. You are in my heart.
Oh.
You're my friend. And it's a choice that I make to whom I spend time with. So thank God you showed up.
Yeah, it was just such a special moment. And I feel like, when you have achieved a certain amount of success, you have a choice of how to treat someone who is completely just brand new to town or whatever. And you immediately just took me under your wing and called me shortly after that first meeting. And we started writing together. And then, we've been like the best of friends ever since, which is pretty...
You pulled me out of a dump, though. I hadn't written in a while, and there was a period of time that I kind of go creative, then I go down, then I go creative and go down. You can sense my mood swings, and you can sense when I'm in a funk, and you won't take no for an answer, which I love that about you. And you go, pull your diary out. We're going to write out of your diary today. And I'm like, oh.
For the record, how many people have you actually read your diary for?
You're it.
Maybe just me.
you're it. I was like, I don't want to share this with you. Yep, you throw it, But who can do that, But a good friend. And that was very cathartic for me.
Yeah.
It was cathartic and it was healing for me. I even listened to that song the other day and I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming, But the fact that you can encourage me too, it's very important.
One of the really important things I think about, if you're going to have a career in music, and we've talked about this so many times, is you have to have people that you can trust because we both know, it's just such a crazy industry and there's
What are you talking about?
I could go on, but there are so many things that have happened to us that have just been insane. But, I feel like if you can find somebody that is in your corner, it's, number one, it's not always easy to find that person. But if you can find that person, someone who's in your corner, someone who has your back, that can make all the difference.
Oh, yeah.
The doors that you opened for me, I will never in a million years ever be able to repay you or thank you enough for, because it gave me every opportunity that I still have coming to me today. And you took a chance to do that for me.
Thank you, but I think there's room for everybody. I may be rare to think that, a lot of people in this business are very... it may be entitled, or they think there's not enough room for everybody. It's all about me kind of thing. But it's a team effort. You cannot get anywhere in life without somebody supporting you or supporting somebody else.
Yeah.
And there's something just endearing about you that I trusted you and I felt safe with you. And, you were like, let me help you do this. I'm like, I didn't know you could build websites. I didn't know you could do, but you believed in me. And you also challenged me when you said, Kelly, I'd love to continue helping you, but there's 1% holding you back. And I was like, how dare you notice that 1%, But the fact that you challenged me that's a good friend. That's a good friend, because most people would just not want to poke the bear or say anything about it. But that was a good thing.
Well, I want to quickly touch on some of the negative effects that being successful in the music industry can have on people, because we both probably had more deeper conversations about those things happening to us.
Yeah.
like I was saying, it's so important to have somebody you can talk to and trust in this business, because those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And not to name names, because I will not, but we had a situation where
I might.
you may. I mean, hey, it's an open forum.
Just kidding.
No, we were both working with the same person in the industry. I was getting ready to fire this person, and you were still working with this person. And when this person found out through the grapevine, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That I was going to let them go, this person took it upon themselves to try to pit us against each other. But we were so solid with our relationship that even that kind of thing couldn't break through.
But you had to trust that we were that strong.
Exactly.
In order to, because I'm sure things could make you question, like, did she say that about me? No.
Yeah. So have there been any other, and you don't have to name names, or you can if you want to, situations that you can think of that have been a negative effect on somebody in the industry that you've seen, or you've seen it take a turn in a way that is almost like a warning to other people coming up?
And not any one particular incident, but egos tend to get out of whack in this business very easily, and people tend to buy their own press. You know me, I don't even read my press releases.
No.
I just don't. I don't believe anything that's said about me, good or bad. And it's a book that I was told about years ago. My sister is here with me. She told me about this book called The Four Agreements. And I learned so much from this little book. It's a little book. And I won't even tell you all the four agreements, but one of them is not to take anything too personally.
Yep.
You can't take a compliment personally. You can't take a cut down personally, because it's really just their opinion.
Exactly. It all means the same thing.
Yeah. So it's what you think of you. It's
Right.
what me think of me. So whatever is churning, rumors or whatever, or people say things is bad, a lot of it's their insecurities or their jealousies. You have to know your own truth and your own ability to, be yourself and be authentic and not worry about what other people are thinking or saying.
Your husband, T.G. Sheppard, he's had many, 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 many hits.
We found out there's more.
Really?
Yes. So we were in the studio the other day. We've always been told that he had 21.
Yes, 21. That's the number that I was...
22.
Really?
Yes. We just recently recorded the song Faking Love. And I was doing some oh my gosh, that was a number one too.
No way.
So there may be more.
There may be.
I don't know. But it's funny how you could have so many you forget. I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys have worked on so many projects together, and one of the things I want to talk about quickly is, when you guys are out in public together, people come up to you. They want pictures with you. I've been there to take the picture on many, many, many occasions. Being married to someone who has experienced that amount of success, what have you witnessed with his fans coming up to him in different situations, like in restaurants?
It depends on what they're wearing. In Texas, I have a different problem than in Tennessee. No, I look at him. I've learned from him.
Yeah.
I expect that he's probably learned a little bit from me as well. But I have great respect for him. He's had the highest of highs. He's had the lowest of lows. And his average personality on a day-to-day basis is really normal.
Yeah.
And for the fame that he's had and for the mountains and the valleys that he's been through, I think he's really normal, and he's balanced it really beautifully. So we're grateful when people come up to us and talk.
Yeah.
Less grateful at dinner, of course, or in the restroom, but
Yeah.
It's just so neat to still be recognized. And to be honest, we're very unobservant. We just live our life, and it's always surprising to us when somebody comes up and wants to meet us or
Yeah.
him or whatever. But I'm happy to take photos of him with fans, because I think I would love to meet somebody like him if I was a country fan.
And I can vouch for you too. TG's very, very cool. That's like the word I think of when he's around people that are interested in wanting to have a conversation with him.
It goes back to the fact that he's a fan too.
Right.
He gets jacked up to meet
He does.
people that he loves,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's the same.
Has he given you any advice? I probably already know the answer to this, but specifically surrounding the fact that over the past couple of years, I have seen your career go from doing really well to unbelievable. Like I'm going to use this as an example. We went to the Country Music Hall of Fame medallion ceremony together, you and I.
Yeah.
And we get out of the car, and there's all these celebrities there taking pictures. And I have been in these situations with you for like 14 years now. I think that's
Yeah.
how long we've known each other. And it's always been great. People have always wanted their picture with you. People have always asked for autographs. This was a whole other level. I don't know if I had gone like a couple years without being at an event like this with
See,
you.
I didn't even see it. Like,
Oh my God,
you were
Kelly,
cracking
we
me
got
up.
out of the car and there were all of these fans that wanted a minute with you. I was joking because I was like, oh my gosh, Terry Clark was done signing autographs before you were.
I don't pay attention to that, though.
It was really very special, and
Thank
I think
you.
it opened my eyes to how, I mean, backtracking a little bit, the reason I think a lot of this happened for you was because your song "I'm Not Going Anywhere" was in a national ad campaign, and I think that was one of the things that kind of catapulted you to
You know what's weird, though, Jacy, is that if I was home watching TV and I heard a commercial and not the face of the person singing it, I wouldn't even think about Googling it or Shazamming or trying to figure out who's saying it.
I don't know, though. I mean, when a song is that touching and that special, I feel like that's something that I would do. You know who did that?
Who?
Naomi Judd did
Oh, yeah,
that.
she did do that.
She went and looked up who sang that song.
She did.
And it was you.
And that's not even her to Google.
No,
you know?
it was not like
Yeah.
her at all, for sure. But my point in saying all of this is your career went from, from here to here really quickly, in my opinion. Did TG give you any advice about how to handle that kind of thing? Or could he not even predict that that was going to happen for you?
We couldn't have predicted that.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's something that's happening to you, you don't sense it.
Right.
That's the poison of this business. It's kind of you don't think you've improved or people don't know you or whatever. And then you're like, oh, okay. How did they know me?
Yeah.
I'm not used to that part of it. But yes, we sit up in bed at night and we talk about our life together and what's happening. And we notice that we have to sit next to our schedules and go, are you busy on that day? Are you busy on that day? And we didn't do that before, you know, so he's seeing mine pick up. He's grown a lot in the fact that he's really grown wanting to support me to do more.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, I think he thought it was just a hobby for me. And I don't think he took me as serious as I wanted him to take me.
Yeah.
But even you've seen him grow in that
for
department.
sure.
So he is at the point where he wants to retire and just support me now, which is, I think I would go crazy. I don't think I would like that. But it's been a flip of a coin. And I go, how did you handle this? How did you know when this was going to be a success? And he'll predict things for me. And I think he's just being a supportive husband, but they always tend to come true.
But how amazing that you have a person built into your life in that way that you can turn to who has actually experienced the highest level of fame.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
What's even crazier is that I saw his height.
Right.
I'm 23 years younger than him. And for me to even be in his world at that young of an age and see what he was, like our daughters, they know who he is, but they don't know who he is. They didn't see it. They just know the tales, or the albums or whatever. But I actually lived it. I actually got to do shows with him and see him in his prime. And that is just really spectacular. I have a lot of respect for him.
So looking back over everything we've talked about, from when you were a child, getting to experience the level of fame you saw through a child's eyes, getting to experience it yourself, being married to someone who is as famous as TG is, do you feel like you have become famous? I'm going to put that in quotes because you've been doing it for your whole life. You've been surrounded by it for your whole life. Does it feel any different from when you got on stage as a kid to now? Like, do you as a person feel different?
My bank account's different. That's all I can say. No, not really. It's just, I'm one of these people, you helped me with this, as a matter of fact. I'm one of these people that once I accomplish one goal, I forget it and I go to the next. I finish an album, I forget it, I go to the next. I don't relish in the moment.
Yeah.
And you put together an EPK for me, which is an electronic press kit. And it allowed me to see, it's almost like your life in, what do you call it? Life before you or whatever.
Yeah.
And it took me back for a moment because I had forgotten that we did this, and this. So I was able to see it then. But in general, no. I mean, my life has really not changed any. I feel like I'm more recognized maybe when I go places, but I'm just grateful for that.
I feel like there are moments though. I mean, you've had moments, I know, because I've stood next to you and I've been lucky enough to be there on the side of the stage when you made your Grand Ole Opry debut.
Now that's a whole different level.
When no, but it's funny because I asked you this question in this order because it's more like an overall perspective.
Okay.
You have individual moments, like when you were on the Opry, when you performed with Barry Gibb for Kenny Rogers' Hall of Fame induction.
That was a big deal.
I feel like those, from my perspective, are the moments when you actually get to say to yourself, "Holy cow, this is, I've done something special."
Yeah,
here.
and you know, a lot of careers, they're one big thing after another, after another, after another. Mine are a really big thing, and then crickets, and then a big thing, and then crickets. So it gives me time to adjust, and it doesn't feel like anybody's even noticing sometimes, but. I love to, it's like I put them in my baby book kind of thing. And it's like goals checked off.
Yeah.
To do a debut at the Grand Ole Opry is something I'll never experience again, you know, and it was just an incredible evening. And if I don't ever experience it again, I can say I did it and it was great, but I don't find my worth in those times. My worth is different than what it used to be.
What do you think your greatest moment has been career-wise?
Hasn't happened yet.
Really?
Mm-mm.
That's amazing. I love that answer.
Yeah, hasn't happened.
That's incredible. I think we should end on that note. TBD. To be determined. I love you so much. Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you.